It means that you're listening carefully and observing things. So first of all, there was a couple of people, including Srinidhi and my co-author, Dr. Sri Krishna, mentioned about some variations in the shlokas. So basically, for the new Bhagavad Gita, we have used what is called a critical edition of the Bhagavad Gita. So if you can see the screen, this is the critical edition. In fact, this was gifted to me by my friend Srinidhi, which is basically the Bhagavad Gita with a lot of variant reading. This is how a critical edition will look. This is the critically constituted text and different variant readings. So there is a great undertaking that happened during the almost half of the 20th century, starting from about 1925, I think, all the way up to 66. There was a huge project undertaken by the Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute of Pune to bring out what is called the critical edition of the Mahabharata. So this basically, from all the available manuscripts, they have tried to figure out what might be the oldest version. So this is what we have used for the new Bhagavad Gita. So there may be few variations from the popular edition of Gita Press or other places. That's fine. In terms of meaning, there is no major difference. Here and there, there'll be some small variations. So that's just one detail that I wanted to share with you. So yesterday we started from the point where the blowing of the conches begins, right? So Rishikesha blows his conch, Panchajanya, then Arjuna blows the Devadatta, and Yudhishthira blows his conch, which is called Ananta Vijaya, and so on. The various warriors, they blow their conches one by one, and there's a huge tumultuous noise which brings fear into the hearts of the Kauravas. Then Arjuna tells Krishna to take his chariot in between the two armies. And there he sees all his friends and relatives and the close people, the all of them with whom he grew up with. And suddenly he becomes very sentimental, and he says, "Is it does it make sense? The reason why we are getting into a war is because we want to enjoy the kingdom with these people, but the very same people are on the battlefield risking their life and their riches and whatever they have, and they are come here. Does it make sense?" We finished with this verse which you see on the screen, but there's one small detail that Dr. Sri Krishna had pinged me yesterday that he said you might benefit by elaborating a little bit on this. So in this verse, Nihatya Dharta Rashtranaha ka priti sya janardana papam evashrayed asman hatvaitan atatayinaha. So here there is a word atatayinaha. This atatain, this term, if you see the Apte dictionary, it is very nice. It is defined as a person whose bow is stretched in a bid to take another's life. So Atatayin is one who is ready to take your life. And in the Shastras, in the Shukraniti and I think some other places, there are a definition of the term Atatayin. And there are 6 types of Atatayin. So Atatayin can be loosely translated as somebody who is attacking you. Or even though they want to kill us, why should we kill them? This is what Arjuna is asking. Atatayin also can mean criminal or somebody who has got an evil intent. And the 6 types of Atatayins are mentioned in the Shastra. One is people who try, like arsonists, who try to use fire to destroy another. Poisoners, people are using poison to destroy other people, or people who are bearing arms to kill those who are trying to steal wealth, those who are trying to grab land, and those who are trying to grab another's wife. So these are the 6 kind of Atatayins. So this backdrop is useful because it will show you to what extent Arjuna is willing to sacrifice. Even though these people are criminals, they are trying to, their intention is to take my life. Even then, it is better not to get involved in this, better to walk away. So that is the message that he is trying to convey. Okay, so now let's go on to the next shloka. We start with the 37th one today. Tasman narha vayam hantum dhartarashtran sa bandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madavaha. So one point somebody mentioned in a feedback that is it possible for you to recite it in the traditional way of the chanting like the Chinmaya mission. Unfortunately, I have not learned Bhagavad Gita recitation, so I'm just reading out the verses. So anybody interested to learn recitation Bhagavad Gita in the traditional, I mean, with a little bit of a, you can listen to Swami Brahmananda's recording on YouTube. That's very reliable, very good. So somebody want to learn. Never had the chance to learn Bhagavad Gita formally, so I'm just reading it out. In a way, it is also good because then we can focus on the meaning. So here he says in the verse 37, he says, therefore it is not right to kill our relatives, sa bandhavan. So the sons of Dhritarashtra, who are our relatives, it is not right. They don't deserve to die at our hands. So what kind of happiness are we going to get by killing our own people? So this is the import of the verse. Madhava, which is a Sambodhana to Krishna. Like I told you, he's a descendant of Madhu, so he got this title Madhava, which is different from the demon Madhu, whom he killed, and got the epithet Madhu Sudana. So Madhava, Tasmat Vayam Dhartarashtran Sa Bandhavan Hantum Na Arhaha. So we don't deserve to kill these people. Swajanam hi hatva katham sukhinah syama. So therefore, tasmat, we should not, it is not right, it is not appropriate for us to kill our own relatives, the sons of Dhritarashtra. And what kind of sukha, what kind of comfort, happiness will we get, Syama, by killing hatva, having killed Swajanam, our own people, having killed our own people, what kind of happiness are we going to get, Madhava? So I think today Gauri will recite, repeat after me. So, Tasman narha vayam hantum.
Tasman narha vayam hantum.
Dhartarashtran sa bandhavan.
Dhartarashtran sa bandhavan.
Swajanam hi katham hatva.
Swajanam hi katham hatva.
Sukhinah syama madhava.
Sukhinah syama madhava.
Yadyapyetena pashyanti lobhopahata chetasaha kulakshaya kritam dosham mitra drohecha patakam. So he says, clearly we see, therefore, that overcome by greed, they don't see the problem in killing one's own family and betraying friends. They are not able to see this. Just 1 second. Make this, yeah. Katham na jneyam asmabhihi papadasman nivartitum kulakshaya kritam dosham prapashyadbhir janardana. But we can clearly see the wrong in killing our own kinsmen. Isn't it better to stay away from this evil? So first, these are like two connected shlokas. So he says, yat api, yadyapi, yat api, lobha upahata chetasaha. Lobopahata chetasaha ete kulakshaya kritam dosham mitra drohe patakam cha na pashyanti. So they don't see, even though yadi api, even though they don't see, na pashyanti. Why don't they see? It is because of the lobha, overcome by greed. Their hearts are filled with greed, and therefore they don't see. What don't they see? Kulakshaya kritam dosham, the mistakes, the blunders by destroying a family. And mitra droha, the pataka or the kind of sin or the crime of betraying friends. They don't see this. They are fools, right? They don't see this. Katham na jneyam asmabhihi. So he says, tathapi, कुलक्षय कृतं दोषं प्रपश्यद्भिः अस्माभिः अस्मात् पापात् निवर्तितुं कथं ज्ञेयं जनार्दन. So they don't see this problem in killing family members, in destroying a clan, in betraying friends. But don't we see this? Katham yangem asmabihi. Don't we see this? Papa asman nivartitum. So this we are clearly able to see that this is a sin. This is a papa. And this kulakshaya kritam dosham, the blunder of destroying a clan, we are able to see this very, very clearly. And so is it not right for us to stay away from this, the papa? So papa, the asman nivartitum, we should stay away from this papa of killing our family members and betraying our friends. Yadyapyete na pashyanti. Gauri, can you repeat this?
यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति
लोभोपहत चेतसः
लोभोपहतचेतसः
कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं
कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं
मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्.
मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्.
Then कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः
कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः
पापादस्मान् निवर्तितुं
पापादस्मान्निवर्तितुं
कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं
कुलक्षयकृतं दोषं
प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन.
प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन.
So Janardana also is one of the epithets of Krishna, like one who protects men, protects the people. कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्माः सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम् अधर्मो अभिभवत्युत. So he says kulakshayam pranashyanti. So this the time honored family values, kula dharma, are destroyed when a family is destroyed, because family is the one preserving the time honored family values. So when a family is destroyed, these time honored family values are lost. And when the family values are lost, then there is a complete chaos and adharma that reigns in the family. So the prose order is kulakshaye, if the clan is destroyed, kulakshaye sanatanaha kuladharma pranashyanti. The eternal, time honored the values of the family and the clan, kuladharma, gets destroyed, pranashyanti. Dharme nashte kritsnam uta kulam adharmaha abhibhavati. Once dharma is destroyed, then the entire clan will lose the bearings of dharma and chaos will reign in the family. So he's slowly giving various explanations to why he does not want to fight the war. Okay, so kulakshaye pranashyanti.
कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति
Kuladharma sanatanaha.
कुलधर्माः सनातनाः
Dharme nashte kulam kritsnam.
धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृत्स्नम्
Adharmobhibhavati. Adharmobhibhavatyuta.
अधर्मोऽभिभवत्युत
Adharmabhi abhibhavat Krishna. Adharmabhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. So he says when there is chaos, when there is adharma abhibhavat, so when the chaos reigns in the family Krishna, then the noble women of the particular clan are violated. And when women are violated, then anarchy rises in society. There is a breakdown of the social order. Krishna, which is a reference addressed to him, adharma abhibhavat kula striyaha. pradushyanti. Varshneya strishu dushtasu varna sankara jayate. If there is chaos reigning everywhere, then the women of the family get violated, they get harassed. Now, typically, when there is a war kind of a situation, those days, all the men folk would go, able-bodied men would go and fight in the war. We know that a lad as young as Abhimanyu, 16-year-old boy, was one of the great warriors on the field. So even you don't have to be 18. In many of the countries, they have a compulsory drafting at the age of 18. Here, Abhimanyu goes and fights the war when he is a mere lad of 16. So from very young age, people are on the men folk are on the battlefield. So at that point of time, when there is a large scale war, so many people die. You know that in the Mahabharata war, which lasted for 18 days, there was almost like close to 5 million people were killed in a matter of 18 days. And except for a handful of people, all of them were annihilated. So, what is the fate of the people at back in their homes at whatever level? So, you could be a subedar or a major or a general. At the end of the day, people back at home are rendered without protection. This is what generally happens in any war, right? So, what he's saying is once there is a chaos that reigns in the family, then there's always a chance of the women folk being harassed, oppressed, or violated by evil men. And when they become violated, and when there is the evil people attack them, then there is a possibility of the breakdown of the social order. So Varna, we will come to Varna in the fourth chapter in more detail. Basically, it is a social classification of the society into different groups. And the Sankara is a mixture. So there will be a mixture of Varnas is the literal meaning, but the implied meaning is that the social order will break down. Okay. Adharmabhibhavat Krishna.
अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण
Pradushyanti kulastriyah.
प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः
Strishu dushtasu varshneya.
स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय
Jayate varna sankaraha.
जायते वर्णसङ्करः
Sankaro narakayaiva kulagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. Okay, there is one point I want to mention in the previous verse. Here he uses two epithets for Krishna. One is Krishna, he calls him as Krishna, and he also uses the term Varshneya. This is interesting. Like I said, not all the epithets of Krishna and Arjuna are very meaningful. Sometimes it is just used to fill the poetic meter. But in some cases, it is very interesting because we don't see this repeated. Varshneya, I think, comes only once in the Gita, or maybe once more, I don't know. But here it is particularly noteworthy because Krishna comes from the Vrishni Vamsha. Vrishni is one of his ancestors. He's known as Vrishni Vamsha Pradipaha. He's a Vrishni Vamsha, one of the main scions of that lineage. So when he calls him Varshneya, possibly Arjuna is trying to hint at the importance of a social order. So that is one small detail in this 41st shloka. Okay, we come to the 42nd one, which is Sankaro Narakayaiva Kulagnanam Kulasya cha Patanti Pitro Hyesham Lupta Pindodak Kriya. So when we realize that this kind of Sankara or this social chaos or anarchy paves the way to Naraka. Naraka can be translated as hell, but I will come to that. So Naraka for the destroyers of the family as well as the family itself. And the ancestors who are deprived of the post-death rights, they fall to lower level, lower realms. They meet their downfall. This is what the verse says. It says, Sankaraha Kulagnanam, the destroyers of the family, Kulasya as well as the kula, as well as the clan, narakaya eva bhavati. So the destroyers of the family as well as the family, both of them are consigned to naraka if this kind of anarchy or this kind of chaos reigns. And naraka is like hell, but it's different from the Judeo-Christian or the Islamic concept of hell. Naraka is a transient place where people are repaying the kind of by their kind of, they have been given some punishments for the papa or the evil or the sins that they have committed, and once they have finished it's almost like a brownie point you have. So once your quota is over, then you are reborn again. Similarly, the opposite is swarga, loosely heaven, where you have done a lot of punya karya, all the good deeds, you have got certain merit points, and you are sent to Swarga. After those, coupons are finished, you are born again. So the idea is for us to move out of this cycle of birth and death and try to get mukti, which means a permanent, a path out of this cycle. But otherwise, typically, whenever we do some punya karya, we go to Swarga. When we do papa karya, we go to Naraka. This is the conception. So there is no idea of like eternal damnation in Sanatana Dharma. Now, here in the second part of the verse, he says something very interesting. And this also, I think, is one of the very often quoted parts by the traditionalists and the Orthodox people, and my co-author and me. We have discussed many times about this particular verse. Patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pindodaka kriyaha. So lupta pindodaka kriya. So lupta pinda udaka. Lupta pindodaka kriyaha esham pitaraha hi patanti. So pinda is the ball made of rice and udaka is water. So typically in the post-death rituals, in the shraddha, what happens is people offer this pinda and udaka to their ancestors. Now, this is a very typical, ceremony that happens every year by a person remembers 3 generations of his ancestors and whoever are departed ancestors, and he performs the shraddha for them. So this basically is a yearly activity that helps us connect with our ancestors. So we are grateful for whatever they have done for us, and it's a time to remember them. And there is a designated protocol. We recite certain mantras and so on. And this activity is, it has its own place. It's important in its own way. But what Arjuna is saying is that if these post-death rites are not done by this generation, then the ancestors who are residing somewhere in heaven, they will meet their downfall. So how will my actions affect my ancestors in a direct sense? In a metaphorical sense, it is beautiful, because, for example, my grandfather who's dead and gone, or great grandfather, they are not here. I cannot do anything to them. But if I behave irresponsibly, if I do something wrong, if I get a bad name, then naturally the name of my ancestors also sully. That, oh, this person is hailing from this family, so and so's grandson, this kind of you are from hailing from this noble family, your great grandfather was that, your grandmother used to do this, she used to feed so many people, and now you are, this kind, you have fallen to this low level. So in that way, there is a metaphorical meaning that if we don't do the right thing, if we are not honest, if we are not leading a noble life, there is a chance of us trying to sully the name of our ancestors. But here, Arjuna is saying that if we don't do this post-death right, then the ancestors will meet their downfall. And a lot of times, this verse is quoted by the orthodoxy in favor of their argument. They forget that these are the words of a confused Arjuna and not of Krishna. Just because it is in Bhagavad Gita, we have to see who is saying it in Bhagavad Gita. So if it is Arjuna's words, it's the words of a confused person. If it is Krishna's words, then it is a gold standard. So this is what this verse is saying, that these ancestors will meet their downfall. Okay, so let us just repeat this verse. Sankaro narakayaiva
Sankaro narakayaiva
kulagnanam kulasya cha
kulaghnanam kulasya cha
patanti pitaro hyesham
patanti pitaro hyesham
lupta pindodaka kriyaha.
lupta pindodaka kriyaha.
दोषैरेतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. Says now these um, uh, age-old practices of the family and the community, they are ruined by the terrible deeds of these anarchists, basically people who destroy the family and society, these killers who create anarchy in society. And it's important to he says to realize that this the manner in which this anarchy takes place, it is problematic for generations to come. So etaihi varna sankara karakaihi, by these people, which people? The ones who cause the varna sankara or the breakdown of the social order. Etaihi varna sankara karakaihi doshaihi, by the mistakes, by the blunders of these anarchists. Kulagnanam shashwataha kuladharmaha cha jati dharmaha utsadyante. So it is by the mistakes, by the blunders of these people, the kula dharma and the jati dharma are lost. The eternal values which are of family and community. So kula is like a clan, is a family, and jati is like a community or a guild or a group of people. So there we have kula, we have jati, we have varna. Varna is a larger social classification, 4 varnas. Jati are smaller groups inside these varnas based on professional and other divisions. And kula is specifically family or a clan. So all these noble values are lost when because of the actions of these people who are causing anarchy. So doshair etaihi kulagnanam
Doshair etaihi kulaghnanam
varna sankara karakaihi
varna sankara karakaihi
utsadyante jati dharmaha
utsadyante jati dharmaha
kuladharmascha shashwataha.
kuladharmascha shashvataha.
उत्सन्न कुलधर्माणां मनुष्याणां जनार्दन नरके नियतं वासो भवति अनुशुश्रुमा भवति इति अनुशुश्रुमा भवति अनुशुश्रुमा. So he says, with these family values lost, we have heard that among people, when these family values are lost, we have heard that this leads to a indefinite stay in Naraka or permanent residence in Naraka. This is what we have heard. So the order, he says, Janardana, which is a reference to Krishna. Again, I said that iti is used like a close inverted comma. So he says, iti anushushuma. This we have heard. What is this we have heard? Utsanna kuladharmanam manushyanam narake niyatam vasaha bhavati iti anushushuma. We have heard that among of the people, when the family values utsanna lost, kula dharmanam, the family values of people, when these family values are lost, people are consigned to naraka. Now, one patha reads narake aniyatam vasaha or vaso. Here it is narake niyatam vaso in the critical edition. But niyata Also, one meaning of niyata could be a designated time in Naraka. But given Arjuna's flow of emotions, he is probably indicating that in this case, niyatam means for a very long time, for permanently, that they are consigned to Naraka forever. This is what we have heard. He says, because he's really scared that this is going to happen, that all the family values are going to be lost and there's going to be chaos. And therefore, we can take the meaning of niyatam here as something which is long lasting or permanent. So he says these people are going to be consigned forever to Naraka, which as I mentioned, it's not true in our tradition. There is no permanent residence in Naraka or Swarga. Once all the Papa points are exhausted, again they are reborn. If they do punya, they get these punya points, they go to Swarga, then again they come back, reborn, if once that get exhausted. So this is basically the fear of Arjuna is being seen again and again. This entire segment is about that. So he says, we have heard about these, people being dispatched to Naraka forever because of the loss of family values. Utsanna kula dharmanam
उत्सन्नकुलधर्माणां
manushyanam janardana
मनुष्याणां जनार्दन
narake niyatam vaso
नरके नियतं वासो
bhavatityanu
भवतीत्यनुशुश्रुमा
अहो बत महत् पापम कर्तुम व्यवसिता वयम यद राज्य सुख लोभेन हंतुम स्वजनम उद्यताः हंतुम स्वजनम उद्यताः. So that being the case, by getting ready to kill our own people, we are on the verge of making a terrible mistake merely out of greed for royal pleasures. Aho bata, an exclamation, oh alas, aho bata. Vayam mahat papam kartum vyavasita. We are getting ready to commit a very huge papa. Yat rajya sukha lobhena swajanam hantum udyataha. So, owing to the greed of royal pleasures and comforts, we are embarking on the killing of our own people, and we are about to commit a terrible blunder. So, again, we know from the earlier discussion that the Pandavas were fighting this war for the sake of dharma. It is a dharma yuddha. And also because they had no choice. After the 13 years in the exile, 12 years in the forest and 1 year Ajnatavasa, when they came back into the civilization and they requested to be given their fair share of the kingdom, they did not get that. They asked for just 5 villages and they would be happy. But Duryodhana refused to give even an inch of land, even not even that much of land which can pass through the eye of a needle. So that is the level of jealousy, that is the level of hatred he's harboring in his heart. If that being the case, now even if the Pandavas said, okay, you don't want to have this war, and they retreated, the Kauravas would have chased them and tried to take their life, take whatever they have. Even if they had gone to another place to avoid this, it would not have been possible, because even after sending the Pandavas to the forest exile, if you remember in the Mahabharata, the evil Duryodhana and Karna and all of them, they come on a Ghosha Yatra to the forest just to put down the Pandavas and to show how they are, they get all the women folk decked up in ornaments and in beautiful clothes. And they just have a sort of procession in front of the Pandavas to show that they are in despicable conditions and we are in this fantastic place. So this is the mindset of the Kauravas. So they would never be left alone. Even if they walked away, they would be attacked, they would be harassed. The only option for them is to fight back if they have to live. This is the reality. But what is Arjuna saying here? That yad rajya sukha lobhenam, because we are greedy for royal pleasures. It's not the case. Definitely, that was not their intention. But he wants to give some excuse to avoid the war. This is one of those excuses. Ahobata mahat papam
अहो बत महत्पापं
kartum vyavasita vayam
कर्तुं व्यवसिता वयं
yad rajya sukha lobhena
यत् राज्यसुखलोभेन
hantum svajana mudyataha.
हन्तुं स्वजनमुद्यताः
यदि माम अप्रतीकारम अशस्त्रम शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्रा रणे हन्युस्तन्मे क्षेमतरम भवेत्. It would be better if the armed Kauravas were to kill me in battle while I remain unresisting and unarmed. Yadi ashastram apratikaram, without weapon, ashastram apratikaram, unresisting. I'll just let them do whatever. Mom, shastra paneyaha, dhartarashtraha. So the Dhartarashtra, sons of Dhritarashtra, with shastra paneyaha is an adjective to them, with arms in their hands. So the fully armed sons of Dhritarashtra, were they to attack me, if I am without weapons and unresisting, Rane, in the battle, Hanyuhu tat me kshemataram bhavet. So if I were to die without resistance, without lifting any arm, and at the hands of the weapons wielding sons of Dhritarashtra, that is Shemataram, that is best, that is ideal, I think. So I will give up everything and let them come and kill me. So now this is almost like a progressively making less and less sense. It is reaching a crescendo of absolutely, he doesn't even know what he's saying. That for a great warrior to come and he has worked so hard and he has come here to fight the battle, and he says, I will give up. So almost you can think of it like a champion, it's like Sachin Tendulkar or something, who is the star batsman. He says, I will just keep my bat down and stand, let them bowl and take my wicket. So what would be the reaction in that case? I don't want to fight. These are my brothers, so why should I fight them? Let them bowl and I let them take my wicket. I will walk back to the pavilion. So this is something like that. Doesn't make any sense for a warrior. So clearly, it is a temporary insanity that is there in Arjuna. We will come to that at the end of the chapter discussion. So we'll just repeat this verse. Yadimam apratikaram
यदि माम् अप्रतीकारम्
ashastram shastrapanayah
अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः
dhartarashtra rane hanyuhu
धार्तराष्ट्रा रणे हन्युः
tanme kshemataram bhavet.
तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्.
Okay. And finally, the last verse of this chapter, Evam Uktvarjuna Sankhye Rathopastha Upavishat Visrujya Sasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Having said this, Arjuna cast aside his bow and arrows. He sank down in his chariot, overwhelmed by grief. Sanjaya tells Dhritarashtra, Sankhye, in the battlefield, Sankhye Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. So a completely, drowned in sorrow. Shoka Samvigna Manasaha, Arjunaha, Evam Uktva, having said these words, whatever he said till now, Sasharam Chapam, along with arrows, his bow, Chapam, Visrajya Ratha Ratopasthe, Upavishat. He sat down, Ratha Upastha. So on the chariot, he sat down, letting go of his chapa, bow, sasharam, along with the arrows, visrajya, having given up, having discarded his bow and arrows, he sat down saying this, and with the completely overwhelmed by grief and sorrow, he doesn't know what to do. He has discarded this bow and sat down. Let's repeat this. Evam Uktvarjuna Sankhye
एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः सङ्ख्ये
रथोपस्थ उपाविशत्
रथोपस्थ उपाविशत्
विसृज्य सशरं चापं
विसृज्य सशरं चापं
शोक संविघ्न मानसः.
शोकसंविघ्नमानसः.
Okay. So typically at the end of every chapter, while reciting, there is a colophon which is used. I will just share that. Can you see this new document on the screen? So it usually goes like this: Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama Prathamodhyayaha. So I told you in the beginning, it starts with Atha. Then Iti is kind of a close ending. So Iti, thus, this is used at the end of the chapter. I'm just showing you for the first chapter. I will let this be in the rest of the course. But anybody who recites usually recite this colophon. This is not part of the main text of the Mahabharata or the Gita. But while reciting, we add this. It's a kind of ornamentary conclusion to every chapter. So what does it say? Iti. Thus, this Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is an Upanishad, as good as an Upanishad. Upanishatsu. Now, among the traditional Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita doesn't feature. Like we have Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, all these different Upanishads. Out of that, Bhagavad Gita is not one of the Upanishads, but it is as good as an Upanishad. And we have seen already in our invocatory shloka that if all the Upanishads are cows, then Gita is that sacred Amrita, the milk which is, taken from these cows. So it is an essence of the Upanishads. And Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastra. So it is a Brahma Vidya. It is a knowledge of the highest, of the Brahman, and Yoga Shastra. So it is also a Shastra, which yoga can mean one of the meanings of yoga is, of course, one of the six darshanas. It's a school of philosophy. Yoga also in general means yoking or union. So it is a shastra that brings together various ideas, and it creates a sort of samanvaya of different ideas. And Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, that is the main focus of the Gita, the conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. And here Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama. So the name of the particular chapter, whatever Sankhya Yogo Namaha, Jnana Yogo Namaha, like this, different chapters have been given titles. Again, these titles are not there in the original Bhagavad Gita, but later these titles have been given. And D.V. Gundappa, in his classic work Jivana Dharma Yoga, he gives different titles to each chapter, which is more pertinent than the existing ones. But in any case, this is the traditional titles which are there. Arjuna Vishada Yogo Nama. Prathama Adhyaya, Prathamo Dhyaya. So this is the first chapter, the end of the first chapter. This is what he says. Now, before we go into a discussion of the first chapter, which I'll take up tomorrow, sort of recap of the entire chapter and a little bit of discussion about Arjuna's mindset and so on, maybe we can cover a few verses from the second chapter, because this is almost a continuation of the first chapter. The first few verses of the second chapter can be easily added to the first chapter because there is no break in the narration. So after Arjuna puts his bow and arrow down and sits down in his chariot with overcome by grief, Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. So to this person, to him who was in despair and who was overcome by pity, he's having tears in his eyes, to such a person, that is Arjuna, Krishna said the following words. So Madhusudana, Krishna said the following words. So Sanjaya Uvacha Tatha Kripaya Avishtam Ashru Purna plus Akula Ikshanam Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. So his eyes are, teary eyed and overcome by pity, and he's completely enveloped by this feeling of compassion, like Kripaya Avishtam. Vishidantam Tam, the one who was lamenting, thus Tam Arjunam Madhusudanaha Idam Vakya Uvacha. Madhusudana told these words to Arjuna, who was in this particular condition. So he was Krapaya Avishta, he was completely surrounded, overcome by pity, and he was his teary eyed and in despair. So Sanjaya Uvacha,
Sanjaya Uvacha
Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam,
Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam
Ashru Purna Kulekshanam,
Ashrupurna Kulekshanam
Vishidantamidam Vakyam,
Vishidantamidam Vakyam
Uvacha Madhusudanaha.
Uvacha Madhusudanaha.
Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So these are the opening lines of Krishna. Now, in the Mahabharata, in different places, you will see that Krishna speaks, Arjuna speaks, other people speak. But in this section, suddenly it becomes Sri Bhagavan Vacha. So there is a special, value attached to when Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita. So, what is his opening statement? First, right off the bat, what does he say? Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam aswargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. So, how can you lose heart in this hour of crisis? Where has this weakness come from? How has this arisen in you? This is, disgraceful, ignoble, and unworthy of higher realms. This is what he says right in the beginning. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Arjuna Vishame Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam Akirtikaram Idam Kashmalam Kutahatva Samupasthitam. So, from where has this, confusion and this weakness arisen in you? It is anarya jushtam. It is something which is ignoble. Aswargyam, it does not lead, lead to higher realms. And akirti karam, it does not bring kirti, it does not bring fame. So, in all senses, it is really very stupid. One is, it is not giving you a good name. It is tarnishing your name. Second thing is, it's not even noble, and it does not lead to higher realms. At least if something is a noble activity, because of that noble activity, you're losing your name, you're becoming ignoble. At least that's something, it has some value. Or you're not worried about this world. You only are thinking about the higher world. So you're willing to sacrifice your pleasures in this world for the sake of higher world. Okay, at least something. So neither is it helping here immediately, nor is it helping in the long run that you are going to get some fame or name. Nothing. It's not going to give you that. It's not even going to help you in the higher realms of Swarga. So where has this thing come from? This is like the opening line of Krishna. It's very interesting. It's probably a coincidence. I don't know. But it's interesting that the Gita begins and ends with what Krishna's words in the Gita. It begins and ends with questions. So he says, Kutastva Kashmalamidam, which is a question. And right at the end in the 18th chapter, he says, Kachid Dajnana Sammoha Pranashte Dhananjaya. Has your delusion been cleared? He asks a question. Here he says, Kutastva Kashmalamidam. From where has this come? So it is an indication of the kind of rational approach of Gita, like the opening and the closing words of Krishna are a question. Then there is instruction in between, but there is always a possibility of asking questions. So this is something that we must keep in mind through this discussion. Always there is a possibility of asking questions. And there's no such thing as a stupid question. Definitely you can ask questions and find out, because that's how we get clarified. So here itself is an indication in the Gita. So Sri Bhagavan Vacha.
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Kutastva Kashmalamidam
कुतस्त्वा कश्मलम् इदं
Vishame Samupasthitam
विषमे समुपस्थितम्
Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam
अनार्यजुष्टम् अस्वर्ग्यम्
Akirtikaram Arjuna.
अकीर्तिकरम् अर्जुन
Klaibyam Masmagamah Partha Naitatvai Upapadyate Kshudram Kridaya Daurbalyam Tyaktvottishta Parantapa. He says, don't be a coward, Arjuna. That's not right for you. It's not appropriate for you. Discard this terrible weakness of heart and stand up and fight, oh scorcher of foes. So Partha is addressing Arjuna. Idrisham klaibyam masma gamaha tvai na etat upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva uttishta. So Clybium is a sort of impotence, unmanliness, or weakness. This kind of weakness, don't be a coward. So here, Clybia basically is a sort of cowardice. So this is don't be a coward, right? Don't back out now. Don't chicken out at this hour, right? This is na etat tvai upapadyat. This is not right for you. It's not appropriate. This kind of behavior is inappropriate. See, this is so beautifully in the second verse that he's telling Arjuna. He just diagnoses the problem in one phrase. Na etat tvai upapadyate. This is not appropriate for you. Then he says, Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. So this lowly, weakness of heart, this terrible weakness, hridaya daurbalyam, weakness of heart, tyaktva, having discarded this, uttishta, stand up. Parantapa is a person who burns the enemies, a scorcher of enemies. A person who has got that kind of valor is, lamenting like this. It doesn't make any sense. So discard this and stand up and awake and arise. Like what Vivekananda says, awake, arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Maybe it is inspired by this, I don't know. But this was definitely Vivekananda's favorite shloka. He has mentioned it in a couple of places. Because here is the core of the message. If you are to reduce the Bhagavad Gita to one message, it is like, okay, stop this nonsense, go and fight. This is what, in a nutshell, that Krishna is saying. Why are you doing this? This is not correct for you. Get up. I mean, come on, man. Just clean up your act. Go and do this thing. Right? That's all. No, it is possible at that moment, if he's a sharp guy, or if it was a very temporary thing, he would have snapped out of that. Right? Like sometimes we see in the football coaches and all this thing, they say, what are you doing? Come on, go back and do your, play the game. So sometimes all it needs is just one push and it's enough. This entire Gita would not have been required. But this was a more deep-seated anguish. And like I said, it is an anguish that comes to a noble person. It is a genuine query. Many of us feel like what Arjuna is feeling at that point of time. So it is a genuine query which is deep-seated, which is why it required this entire discussion that followed. But here, really, at this point of time, the message is already conveyed by Krishna. So let's repeat this verse and we'll stop for today. Klaibyam masma gamah partha.
क्लैभ्यं मा स्म गमः पार्थ
Naitatvai upapadyate
नैतत्त्वयि उपपद्यते
Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam
क्षुद्रं हृदयदौर्बल्यं
Tyaktvottishta parantapa.
त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप.
So tomorrow what we'll do is we will have a quick overview of the first chapter and also discuss some of the points that go into like why Arjuna had this despondency and what are the things that we can learn from that. Then after that, we will resume with the second chapter from day after tomorrow. So again, if there are any questions or comments, please let me know. And it's very important that there is interaction between us. But because of the format where there are a large number of people in the class, and it's an online class, this interaction cannot be in real time. If all of you were in Bangalore in a room and we were sitting together, it would be a totally different experience, and we could ask questions, we could discuss. But since here we are all of us in different locations, and remote connectivity is happening, it's possible to interact better through email, or by your comments and questions, by sending it to me. And whatever I'm getting, I'm, as much as possible, if it is relevant, bringing it up the next session. So please feel free to get in touch with me. I know some of you may not be able to attend the class at this hour live, but you're catching up with the video later in the day, which is why we have made the recording available for one day. So sometime you may be catching up later on, but any questions or any comments, suggestions, corrections, please feel free to send it to me, and I'll bring it up. So good. So we have finished the first chapter today. I think so. 3 days we have taken, which is okay. I think if we go at this pace, we'll be able to cover good ground.